What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are at the first ever URock Foundation gallery. So many amazing things are happening. Shout out to Laura and Joe for putting together this awesome event. And today we are here with Laz of Ill Niño. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's my pleasure to sit here and chat with you for a little bit, and thank you for coming out.
Of course, man. It's, because the topic today is mental health and everything. And as I was telling you before we started rolling, a lot of the songs off the Confession record, like Letting Go and All the Right Words, are songs that I actually use to help me through my difficult times. So it's great to be sitting here and talking with you about that.
Oh, likewise. Whenever we hear, someone share something so deep, I mean, it's probably the most gratifying part of doing what we do. I think that when it all comes down to it, even if you just touch one soul and gave them a reason, that's good enough for me. We try to inspire and motivate, and I think that we have a certain responsibility to make sure that our message is clear, is that we're fighters, and when it's all said and done, look at the way I turned. We turned out all right. My generation of metalheads turned out to be stable, good people, contributors to society. And we are a great bunch, and, we are, a culture and a unit.
Definitely. And technically, me and Ill Niño go way back because, when I interviewed Dave when he was in New York with Terry Universal, turns out you guys have been customers of Alto Music for a while, my father's company, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, man, music stores have always been, the candy store for people like us, So absolutely, I am so happy to also hear that, after all these years to see Alto Music still doing their thing and not having to give in to, to this, to higher rent prices, or, just a higher cost for, a family business to be run. Yeah. It's great, and it shows a lot, the dedication and commitment we have with each other.
Yeah, so, and that's what inspired me to
thank your family as well.
Oh, yes. Thank you. They thank you as well.
Right on.
But you got a lot of amazing things happening, because in addition to working with new stuff with Ill Niño, you're working with Eddie Leeway, and you got this whole amazing studio happening. I mean, if you want to give a quick rundown on what's been going on lately.
Well, I like to surround myself with my friends. I mean, if you look on the other room, is my brother, who I started playing music with, with Gordon, who's my partner with my management company. We also used to play music with, and Sean was my neighbor across the street. I learned how to play with him. I like to surround myself with cool people, especially, people that I trust, and the people, some of my friends, I think we all, from time to time, we'll be disappointed in someone's behavior, and, we'll try to move along. But, humanity does breed some really beautiful people, and it's nice to have some of my friends around me. So, and since I was getting busy and touring all the time, I needed to figure out a way how to bring some of my friends back. So, so it's kind of like, finding an excuse to do something together, just to hang out. But hey, if we say we're doing business, then we'll have fun doing business, and the families will be happy that we're not just hanging out and take it the wrong way. We're trying to be constructive.
Absolutely.
So
you just had Concrete Dream and Aurin play a bunch of shows, great performances for this event tonight.
And I've seen all of those kids, most of those kids, at least, mostly all the kids in Concrete Dream since they were teenagers, and some of the cats from Aurin as well. For years I've been seeing them at Ill Niño shows, through the music, creating this community around here, and it's wonderful to see people progress and still keep with it and be a part of the things that we share here. Today was a big day for us in our new spot, which is the Cyclorama here at Soundwars, and in addition to all the music studios that we have here, mostly monthly rooms with independent bands sharing. Some have their own, and then we have the recording and the hourly as well. But we've added the Cyclorama, which is a soundstage, Cyclorama Infinity Wall. And, it was Mainly, I just kind of wanted to do indie films and music videos, live broadcasts, and I needed an excuse. So, I had to kind of create a business that would allow me to also do these things. Otherwise, I'll never get to it. I need to be around it.
Well, it's funny because right now you're technically having, like, I guess for lack of better words, like an art exhibition of demonstrating all these different artists who spoke about their issues with the U-Rock Foundation. Do you think that maybe this? I mean, granted, the event started only 4 hours ago, but like I'd imagine that tonight maybe gave you some new ideas on what to do, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is, like I said, the Cyclorama's only been open for a few months, so this was one of those things that I kind of wanted to give back, particularly to Laura first. And I knew that she was also involved with the U-Rock Foundation, and she took these beautiful pictures. And I said to her, "We got a spot. Let's do your first gallery opening." And this the U-Rock Foundation show was just spawned. Why is music important? And it's the first of its kind, and hopefully many. It's related to a great cause and awareness that we need to pay attention to each other and try to inspire each other. And even if we don't communicate with words, communicate with energy and whatever you can. I think our goal is to save our culture and save our people's lives. I think lives, humanity, should be saving each other and not killing each other, unless it's for sports. I mean, everyone likes a good fight every now and then, but nothing.
That's what video games are for.
Yeah, nothing with anger or hate. I think if we learn to love each other, we will be able to help each other. And creating a show like Why is Music Important, which featured testimonials from Jonathan Davis, Corey Taylor, Eddie Leeway, Christian Machado, my singer, Chad Gray, just wonderful people that gave their heart to an inspirational message to keep people inspired and keep people alive and keep people motivated, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And we turn out okay, and I am testament to that. And I've been around, and life will stable out, and everything always, remember that, always works itself out. And just believing that creates that energy, and it does, and it works.
It really does. And we just recently suffered two tragedies. We just announced We Came as Romans, their singer died battling an addiction, and Jill Janis from Huntress, who sadly took her own life. And I really feel like this is the type of event that the world of rock and metal could use.
Yeah, no, my condolences to the family and friends and the devoted fans. I feel your pain, and way too often, we're hearing this. I was very struck by Linkin Park.
Got this tattoo for Chester.
Yes. Chester, who our records were coming out. His came out right before us, and we shared the same manager. So we met each other at an early time in our careers as we were both launching. Obviously, they went on to mega, rightfully so, because they were terrific. They were the best at it. And that was heartbreaking, seeing talented people, you think they have it all, and it's not just about having it all. It's really you can be poor and not, and have it all. And I think that's what we need to pay attention to and not stray away from,
Depression is like gasoline. It doesn't discriminate on who it kills.
No, it does not, and it's almost like a malfunction. And, you never know when it's going to hit. It comes sometimes out of nowhere, and, you feel deeply touched by something, and, you're trying to explain it, and maneuvering your way back into a safe place, can be an obstacle.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm it really means a lot that you're able to discuss this, and I definitely could tell it's going to help a lot of our viewers out and everything like that.
Well, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. We're all there for you, and choose life always. Everything, create it interesting. Make it interesting. It doesn't have to. You don't have to have success. You don't have to have. You like I said. Some of the happiest people on earth are poor people who have very little. Just appreciate being here, and I can say all the motivational words, and I know that sometimes there's shields that bounce off of it, but if I can just get a pebble in there, or just cut through and tell you it's always going to be all right. It's always going to be all right.
Definitely. Now, I wanted to shift the topic a little bit. I was always curious about with the sound of Ill Niño, because a lot of people, when talking about you guys, and if you hate this, I'm sorry, but I've associated you with the new metal movement. Some people have referred to you guys as the metalcore movement, and I would say, you have a lot of different elements in Ill Niño. Was there a movement that you kind of started with? Also coming from Jersey, being the home of Dillinger Escape Plan and God Forbid, all kind of starting around the same time, if maybe that affiliated you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think, because it kind of came late. I played music for a long time, and by the time Ill Niño came about, what thrilled me and attracted me to the idea at the time, which me personally, I didn't know the term new metal. I didn't know that. I knew that. When I was going to high school, it was heavy metal. Then they shortened to metal, and then it was either death metal, thrash metal. Of course, I was a thrash metal kid. It was my era. Hardcore music was very, 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 especially the New York hardcore bands. Which was why I also end up working with Eddie Sutton. Because Leeway were the crossover thrash with hardcore band from New York. And that excited me. It was a sound from home base. And I think that Ill Niño took the elements of these things and, all the music that we grew up listening to, and then threw in the Latin rhythms, the Latin percussion. And we were going to swing it metal style, because we were first and foremost metalheads, and hardcore, later on, and bands like the Bad Brains, Cro-Mags. I mean, the list goes on. Hatebreed as well. This is before, Korn or Deftones, which I love. In fact, Deftones' White Pony, one of my favorite albums of all time. A lot of great music came out, and a lot of great music was coming out at that time. And the reason why I didn't associate it with a genre is because what we know today as new metal, if you look at these bands, don't sound anything alike. You can't. Deftones, Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park. They sound like their own genre to me, and their own thing, in its own beautiful form. So, if being new metal is coming from that time period where you can incorporate new ideas, had an urban feel, at 08's hitting, it had its speed, its aggression, and it's. It's making it stand, and it was it's our revolution, which is the first title of our album, which we did Revolution, kind of letting and right out of the gate, Ill Niño, I think you might put the connection together with the language, with the heritage. And Ill Niño was, to me, it was really a side project. My buddy Dave Chavari, that I had just started my studio at the time also. And I was a lot of exciting things at the time, where I was working with bands like Agnostic Front, doing their pre-pros for the album on their comeback for Epitaph Records, a bunch of other stuff as well, some great stuff. But Ill Niño came along. This happened all within a period of a year, I think, maybe less than a year. Dave was my buddy, and so, he was obviously going to come and record at my new studio, which I had around the corner from where I have Soundwars now, in a basement in a little box. And basically this sound that Dave Chavari at the time was putting together, because he would come home and always put a new lineup together of something, because he was out touring as a hired drummer for bands like Soulfly, Propane, MOD, and he wanted to have a band, with where he can actually, everyone has a say and everyone contribute, and he wanted that dynamic back, like in his early days from Gothic Slam, and he would do it in between bands, and this was what I was at the time thinking another one of his attempt. Only this time it included me as we were recording it, as it was being creative, would throw a Latin bass line in here. And I guess that began to excite me. I was already moving on to a more Santana kind of vibe in my evolution of music. And going back to metal and throwing the Latin rhythms, was so appetizing and so unexplored. Even though there were bands like Puya, but they were using, or in Sepultura, which is a great inspiration to the band as well, of using your culture and your rhythms. Definitely. And so we wanted to throw our rhythms, which were also rhythms of New York and Latin rhythms that were born in New York, and the old rhythms that maybe came from the African slave ships and introduced, that are still moving and present today. We wanted to incorporate that, and we came out swinging, and didn't imagine everybody's quitting. It was a side project for me. I had my own band with my brothers my entire life, and everyone was just scrambling, quitting their jobs and leaving their regular bands to make this outfit, And
well, I heard Dave Shivari on I said his last name right, by the way, right? Yeah, I heard Dave Shivari's interview on the Doc Coyle podcast, and he said, like, at the second you guys finished one tour, you were on another tour, and then you were on another tour. It was like to the point where you guys were like, all right, we need to take a break.
Many of those times, God forbid, and Doc were on those tours with us as well. Yeah. We crossed paths in festivals. There was, it was relentless touring, man. I didn't see home for, in those days, I think, because we went from touring 2 years straight right into the studio, into another record, and touring, we had very time to our families. It was a big sacrifice, and that was the sad part of being in a band. You think that you're having, but if you can't share it with all the ones that you love, it kind of creates a certain sadness. You want to share it, and have them experience it with you. Like my two brothers, who I played music my entire life with, it was hard, coming back and telling them how I felt. But my older brother, who's sitting back over there, he said, if one of us crosses over, it represents all of us. So do it, and motivated me and kind of launched me. And when I got his blessing, it was just full on Ill Niño. And it's been now 18 years since I've been playing with Ill Niño.
Which is awesome. And it's fair to say Ill Niño's always been a band that incorporated many different elements. You take a song like With You and then compare that to a song like Numb, then How Can I Live, to Till Death Live Amelia, which I think is one of the heaviest records you guys put out. So it seems like you guys can almost kind of incorporate many different elements in Ill Niño, right?
Sure. And we kind of jumped it off right out of the gate like that. This is who we are, and we do these kind of songs as well. And all our records, we try to show an evolution from album to album, and we get creative. We've already done those records, and the fans are going to hear those songs when we tour anyway. So we're always trying to not reinvent, but to do something new, And, we've been very lucky to stick around and keep putting out records, and I'm curious, I couldn't even tell you what the next record is going to be like, but I can tell you that a lot of ideas have already been, crossing back and forth, and I think it's going to probably, everyone thinks that their latest is going to be their greatest, but this one's gonna have a lot in it. It's just gonna have a lot of different emotions, different styles.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Dave doing stuff with Terror Universal and 27 other bands, and you working with Ed Sutton and the Agnostic Front guys and everything like that. I'd imagine that kind of stepping away from Ill Niño for a little bit and then coming back into it after experimenting with other projects is definitely going to help this new record, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think that Dave and I were actually just speaking maybe yesterday or a day ago, and already making plans. So the pot is like beginning to brew, and ingredients are going to be tossing back and forth, and there's going to be a lot of tasting, and then it's time for a new record and I think everyone has a lot to say right now.
Awesome. Well, I don't want you to spoil it anymore for people or for me. But before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Man.
This ended up being a little bit longer than I promised. I'm
It's all
sorry.
good, man. It's a pleasure, and I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. Just the usual. You obviously elaborated on the new Ill Niño record. You know, being that I think the last tour you guys did was Mayhem 2014. Like,
That was no. I think we've come back. I think we've done Starland twice since. Maybe a New York gig as well. That was the last major tour in America. But you know, we've been doing it. We spent more time overseas in the international world, in Europe, Australia. You know, even as far as Russia. You know, China we've done as well.
good thing you elaborated, because for us New Yorkers, sometimes overseas just means going to Staten Island.
Content, you know, the mainland Europe sees us more often. You know, we've kind of built a great relationship, and it's become an international familia. Yeah. And no, we've been very fortunate to do it all over the world: South America, Mexico, and you know, I still need a couple of, maybe 2 continents to check off the list.
Antarctica
and Africa.
Yeah, well, I heard because you know, South Africa being home to Seether, and you know, Luanda, Angola, home to Tantric. There's so many bands. You could definitely hit that place.
Yes, for sure. And Nelson Mandela.
Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
Well, actually, once I didn't meet him, but I saw him in a hotel room in Canada years ago, and I got to wave to him, and it was a beautiful energy, and I'll always hold that dear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But Laz, thank you so much for your time. Everybody, we are here with Laz of Ill Niño for the first ever You Rock Foundation exhibition. Remember, you are not alone. Never be afraid to reach out. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.
Peace out. Peace.